Welcome to The Future is Sourced, the podcast where we cut through the corporate jargon and tell you exactly what's keeping the C-suite up at night. I'm your host, M, and today we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar ticking clock, the GCC talent reckoning. Now, if you're a CIO or a sourcing leader, you've probably heard all the fanfare about India's global capability centers. 1,800 of them, 1.9 million professionals, projections heading toward a $110 billion powerhouse. It's the success story of the last 2 decades, but here's the unvarnished truth, the thing nobody is talking about in the board meeting. This boom is racing toward multiple talent walls simultaneously. Let's dive into the 3 biggest risks you need to address right now. Segment 1, the skills mismatch, why generic talent is killing your strategy. Think about your GCCs. For years, the sourcing mandate was simple, volume. We needed bodies, primarily engineers, to handle our IT and basic process work. And India delivered. But your GCCs have grown up. They're no longer phase 1 back offices. They're phase 4, end-to-end strategic innovation hubs. The problem? The talent pipeline is still optimized for phase 1. If your GCC is in the technology sector, you're mostly fine. But 80% of the landscape is everything else. BFSI, automotive, healthcare. And they need more than just a fresh graduate who can code. So if you're a BFSI leader, you don't need a generic Python developer. You need a mid-level manager who understands EU regulatory compliance and cross-border risk modeling. That's a 10-year skill set, not a 6-week boot camp. If you're an automotive CIO, you need mechanical engineers who grasp German manufacturing standards and can program your EV thermal management software. We're asking for a unicorn, and the schools are still producing horses. This leads us to the biggest operational headache, the missing middle. We have plenty of entry-level talent, and we can hire expensive CXOs. But who is running the ship? Who is mentoring the juniors, leading those complex multi-year projects, and acting as the domain expert? That 8 to 15-year specialist layer is catastrophically thin. When they leave, and they will leave for a 40% hike elsewhere, your critical projects stall. That is a massive risk to project stability and resilience. The good news for sourcing leaders is that fresh talent is plentiful in India. India produces around 1.5 million engineers annually, and GCCs are aggressively hiring new graduates, with some planning to increase fresher intake by 20% or more. GCCs are often seen as a better bet than traditional IT services firms, offering better pay and clearer career paths. But here's the issue. 1. The deployability gap. While there's volume, only about 10 to 25% of those graduates are considered immediately industry ready and possess the domain depth, adaptability, and strategic thinking Phase 4 GCCs require. They need to be transformed from qualified to deployable. 2. The sector mismatch. The vast majority of fresh talent is geared toward generic tech skills. Your non-tech GCCs, BFSI, automotive, healthcare, cannot rely on boot camps to manufacture the regulatory and domain expertise required for junior roles. It takes years of structured knowledge that the standard pipeline doesn't deliver. 3. The volume illusion. GCC requirements are exponential and sector divergent. A traditional developer can be trained in months. An automotive thermal specialist or a clinical trial designer takes years. The sheer numbers of fresh grads don't translate into the right kind of sophisticated talent needed to scale strategic centers. Let's talk about cost. With Bengaluru attrition hitting the roof, your sourcing team is brilliant. They're opening up centers in Jaipur, Kochi, and Vizag. Smart move, right? Lower real estate, lower salaries. But here's the paradox. You are solving a cost problem by creating a capability problem. Phase 4 work, true strategic innovation, requires high-density concentrations of experienced domain leaders. Those leaders, frankly, don't want to move to smaller cities. So you end up with a hub-and-spoke model where the high-value work is still siloed in the Tier 1 metro, and the Tier 2 city is just doing the execution. You've replicated the hierarchy and complexity you wanted to eliminate, and you've slowed down innovation. And speaking of innovation, I'm going to call out the innovation theater. Many GCCs have a chief innovation officer and a shiny innovation lab, but the real budget and authority still sit with HQ. The best talent sees through this immediately. They come expecting to drive change, find they're only executing a predefined roadmap, and quickly leave for a startup or a boutique firm that will trust their judgment. Your GCC is inadvertently becoming the world's most expensive finishing school. Okay, so what is the actionable play here? This is where the CIO and the sourcing leader must become the architect of a new talent model. Stop focusing purely on arbitrage, the cost difference, and start focusing on architecture, the intentional design of your capability. You need a diversified three-pronged strategy. Build, borrow, and bot. 1. Build. Internal capability as a strategic investment. The mandate. You have to turn your GCC into a retention machine. This means moving past simple salary hikes. The action. Dedicate 10% of your total tech budget to corporate academies and personalized reskilling. Focus these programs on the domain-specific skills your sector needs, not just coding. Investing in personalized, deep domain career paths is the only way to retain that valuable 8 to 15-year cohort. This is also how you bridge the gap for that plentiful but not yet ready fresh talent pool. 2. Borrow. Smart sourcing for niche gaps. The mandate. Stop trying to hire every single specialist as a full-time employee. The action. Strategically leverage contingent workers, boutique consulting, and the gig economy for highly niche short-term needs. Think AI ethics governance or complex global M&A integration. Borrowing is about agility for unique skills. 3. Bot. Augment the missing middle with AI. The mandate. Technology must solve the human capital gap. The action. Aggressively deploy generative AI and automation to augment your existing mid-level staff. If you're missing 3 senior compliance experts, an AI tool may be able to handle 40% of the routine audit work, allowing the 2 you do have to focus on the truly strategic, complex decisions. Use AI to turn a generalist into a highly productive specialist. Finally, a closing thought. Your strategic risk is now a human capital challenge. If the talent makes or breaks the GCC, and it does, then the future of your GCC strategy must be led by a united front. The CHRO, the CIO, and the sourcing leader need to be in lockstep, using data to map skills, predict attrition, and build the resilience required for the next decade of growth. The reckoning is coming. Are you ready to architect the solution? That's it for this episode of The Future is Sourced. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.